Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. As promised, this is the second part of my back-to-back kiln unload for the holiday season for my last holiday sale. Woohoo! Coming to you from my disaster of a studio in Summerside, Prince Edward Island in Canada and Atlantic Canada. So I'm going to show you a few pieces that came through the last load. So first is my robin's eggs mugs. So Winterwood, Light Flux, and my Studio Turquoise in the middle. So I made 3 of these babies. And they turned out quite nice. So and this is on white stoneware clay. So I use primarily stoneware clay. I tried porcelain a couple of times, but I'm an impatient potter and porcelain does not do well with impatient potters. So me and porcelain decided that we would just be better off as friends. So I use stoneware, whether it's brown stoneware or white stoneware, and it's very forgiving. It allows you sometimes to rush drying times and that type of thing. So stoneware, I'm a stoneware girl. As I mentioned before, primarily the way I would glaze the inside of my mugs is with a studio liner, usually white, sometimes a few other colors. I just showed you turquoise, but I never paint the inside of my mugs. I had someone reach out and ask me for my white satin recipe. So my previous video, if you look in the comments, I posted the recipe there. So feel free, it's very stable, works really well. I've never had it act up on me at all. The only thing I find about the white satin is, even though it's not a super thick glaze, it can take a little while to dry. So usually I'll just do whatever with it, whether I'm lining or dipping or whatever, and then I just walk away and leave it for a bit. Otherwise I end up getting fingerprints and all that kind of stuff. So I just let it kind of dry a bit first. Usually when I'm doing a liner, I will try to do it overnight if I can, but if not, I'll leave it a few hours. So here is another mug. I call this one Misty Mauve. Let me try to get in close. So this one, this mauve glaze right here, is the same base glaze recipe as my turquoise. So I found a few recipes that I really liked the way they acted, and then I just kind of switched up the color. So this one I used a macing stain, I think 5%. I think it was called Violet. And it gave me this really nice soft mauve, which my customers really like. So I dipped the top in white, the bottom in the mauve. Then I painted across the white and a little bit of the mauve, blue hydrangea, and then a strip of light flux at the top. So that blue hydrangea is what's giving you the gold flecks, which is quite nice, gives some interest. This one is that same mauve with my studio green at the bottom. Then a strip of alabaster, winterwood, and flux in the middle, just to give it some interest. And I call this Meadow. So that's that. So today is pack up for sale days. I also pulled out some Yin and Yang mugs. And these, because of the shape, they don't hold as much as my belled mugs, but I really love the shape of them, and they've been really popular this season. So I made 5 of these, and just my studio black on the bottom, dipped in an angle, studio white on the top, dipped in an angle, and then a strip of alabaster and winterwood, and then light flux in the middle, just to give you that drippage. So it gives you some interest, and I call these Yin and Yang mugs. And my studio black would be, I'm sure, very similar to Obsidian for those of you that like to brush on or buy your glazes pre-made. I'm sure it's got to have some similarities because they're both blacks. And here's the last 2 of these. So you can see there's just a little bit of variation in each one, which is the beauty of pottery, right? That's why people like it. No 2 pieces are the exact same. I did pull, I call these my flower power mugs. Pulled one of these out of the kiln. So with this one, I just dip it completely in my studio satin white. and then I wipe the glaze off the applique, and then I paint the applique with stable glaze, and this one is Coyote Fairy Rose. So lots of retro stuff around right now. I love that look. More Yin and Yang. So these are wine cups in the Yin and Yang. Very similar to the mugs. These cups probably hold 12 ounces, I would say. Staying on the theme of wine cups, robin's egg. So similar to the mugs I just showed you, just the same treatment. So winterwood, flux, and turquoise. I usually only put one coat of winterwood on whatever I'm making. I don't like a ton of flecks. So for me, one coat is plenty. If you like more, obviously, you would do that. Or if you're pouring it, that would be different too. But typically I'll do 2 coats of alabaster if I'm painting on, and then 1 coat of the winterwood. But I did try, and I want to show you this. I did get a bucket of dipping alabaster. So I wanted to try it on a sample cup before I actually put it on something, because I've paid that price before. So in this case, I did a dip of the alabaster, so not painting 2 coats. Instead, I dipped it once, and then I painted 1 coat of winterwood over the top. And it's nice because then I've got alabaster to use for other things too. So that worked great. This was the end of a winterwood bucket, so there were some huge crystals. So we all know they can be very drippy. But it worked out beautifully, so that's going to save me a ton of time. I'm really happy about that. So always looking for ways to save the tedious time if you're painting or whatever. It just takes forever. So, and it takes a long time for stuff to dry too between coats. Great if you're only doing a few pieces and whatever, but if you're trying to pump out some stuff, finding those little time-saving ways can really make a big difference for you when you're doing a sale or whatever. So here are a couple of more wine cups. So these are lined in my studio white on white clay. Top is fire brick red. Middle is deep sienna speckle. Those are both Amico glazes. The bottom is just my studio dark brown, basically like a celadon. And then there's a little bit of flux where the glazes meet in both sections, and then you just get some nice movement and drippage just to create some interest in there. So those turned out really, really nicely. The colors are nice for, you know, the colder seasons and stuff. So I did 4 of those. And each one, of course, is a little bit different. All right. I did some little espresso / cappuccino cups, very teeny tiny. These guys only hold maybe 7-8 ounces. Inside is glazed in studio white. Outside is Norse blue up to about here dipped. Studio white dipped. Blue hydrangea over them with a little bit of flux on the rim. And I call this icy blue. This is my icy blue combo. I do these in mugs quite often too. So it's a really, and you can see the little gold flecks from the blue hydrangea. Blue hydrangea is a really interesting crystal glaze because it can really change colors according to what you have it on. So that really makes it nice to use. Always kind of fun to see what things are going to come out. So I made a few beer steins. And this is just in blue and green. My 2 favorite colors on the planet, with white inside. That's that. Locally, we have, I'm sure no matter where you're from, there's some local sayings that everybody is known for or whatever. So on PEI, on Prince Edward Island, one of the things people often say would be very best. So very best just means things are good, everything's great. You know, that's one of the things people like to say here. So this is a very best mug. And there we go. So top is my studio blue, bottom is my studio green. Where they meet, a band of olive float. And same for this one. On white. White stoneware. And this is my Mystic Lake in a couple of mugs. So interestingly, typically my blue glaze, and on the brown, this is on white. On the brown clay, it comes out quite dark. But even on the white clay, it usually comes out darker, but it's coming out more like a blue genie color, which I still really love. But it just goes to show every firing is different. You never know what's going to come out of that kiln, which is what makes it addictive and fun. So that's with that. What else to show you? Oh, cheese ball bowls. So I have cheese ball bowls in the Yin and Yang. And I think I mentioned in my last video, I sell these with these little wooden pate knives as a set. I think people really like them. I've been selling a lot of them, and I'm assuming maybe it's for like hostess gifts or things like that. So here's Mystic Lake again with this. So the difference with this treatment in Mystic Lake is I don't use flux. I just use, I dip the turquoise and the blue, and where they meet, I put a band of olive float. And the treatment is quite lovely. I've done some big bowls in that, and it looks really, really nice. Which I should have mentioned in this. I think I forgot. So dipped blue, dipped turquoise. Oh, first poured white liner, let it dry. Dip blue, dip turquoise, band of olive float, then a band of turquoise or light flux where there is no olive float, and then you get this treatment here. And just another one of these with the little. Then, you know, the odds and ends you make with clay when you got bits left on white. This is just a little spoon holder. Just the black, the white, and the flux. Sorry, the black, the white, the alabaster, the winterwood, and the flux. That's a lot more than just flux, isn't it? And then finally, just this little freeform bowl. This is a refire. First time I did it, I did not like the way the glazes behaved. And of course now I've put so much on here, I cannot remember. I know that I started out with antique pearl. No, I started out with magenta sky, coyote magenta sky, and coyote blue purple on the rim, and then antique pearl over the whole thing and on the back, and blue purple on the back. And then, so I fired that because you never know how much things are going to move, right? So I fired it, and I wasn't really happy with the movement, so I added some light flux to that. So I'm really happy with that now. There's lots of interest happening, and it's just, like I said, just a little freeform bowl. And guys, I think that's all I had to show you today. If you have any questions, certainly reach out. I'd love to hear from you. And this is my last, won't be my last kiln firing, but my last kiln firing before the Christmas sales are done. And after that, it'll be kiln firing for me, which will be nice. So hope you all have a wonderful holiday, and take care and stay safe.